Oh, well, fucking thank you, iMac Siri. I appreciate you letting me know that. Now we're just waiting for Danny of Burkhead. What is it? Let's look at his Instagram right here. We're waiting for Danny Birkenhead Canine. So I'm assuming it's Danny Birkenhead who we'll be talking to. It looks like he's a dog trainer. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what this guy looks like. Oh, okay. Look at him. Nice and strapping lad. So we've started the meeting, right? Oh, wait, here he is. Admit. Boom, look at him doing his thing. I got a feeling this isn't about, I'm curious. What's up, Danny? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, buddy, I'm good, thank you.
Hey, first of all, I want to say thanks for the support, man. It's a little unorthodox for other dog trainers to be supporting me like this. I'm genuinely curious as to what you'd like to talk about, bro.
To be honest, it's more like, I found sort of my style, the way I train, but obviously what I don't like is a lot of trainers just sort of find a style and then never learn anything new or never speak to another dog trainer about how they work and what you can sort of learn from somebody else.
That's what I kind of assumed this may be about. That's really cool, man. That's really cool. And I'm like, as jaded as I am, as much as I don't really like affiliating with other dog trainers, because for whatever reason, there's this like big swinging dick competition between everybody, and they all want to fucking, it's kind of one of those things where even if it starts out good, like something along the way ends up going bad, like for whatever fucking reason. I've still somehow managed to learn from a bunch of different people. I think especially early on, and now I've got my thing. I've got kind of how I do it. And every now and again, there are certain guys that I've like sort of like stayed on the outskirts with, that I still communicate with, that I never got too close with, that I'm still friends with,
Yeah.
And, I'll hold myself accountable. I look at the situations where I've like ended up not being cool with other people. And I think more times than not, it's really not something that I did or specifically. There's just this thing happens sometimes, and there may be a time or two where I may have not handled a situation as good, and then the falling out happened. But it's something that I'll think about for a little bit, but then I'll just move on and just realize that people come and go. But yeah, a story for another time. All that to say, I have learned from quite a few people. And what I've done is kind of like what you're doing is I've kind of just like, I picked a little bit of each person's brain and I sort of like formulated my own shit, like I don't really like that. It could work, but like, it's not my thing. I prefer this, and that's what happens when, we do what you're doing is you try to fucking, pick the brains of everybody. And that's like, what's crazy is I've been in it long enough to sort of be able to make the comparison to when I was a baseball player, because that's precisely what I did with all my baseball coaches. I looked at because all these different coaches have fucking different styles of coaching, and I looked at all the different strategies that these guys had and the way that they handled their players. And if I was ever a coach, I know exactly what kind of coach I would be. And that was so valuable. So I learned the value of learning from like a multitude of different people, earlier on in my life. So anyway, a lot of words to say. I kind of fucking respect exactly what you're doing right now. So out of curiosity, where are you from?
I'm from the northwest by Liverpool, just over the water from Liverpool.
So is that England?
Yeah, England, yeah. Yeah, in England, north, near the top of England, yeah.
I got England in the house, everybody. That's awesome, dude. So is there anything specific, any specific questions, curiosities that you have? I would assume you might.
Yeah, obviously in my terms, the way I sort of, I became a dog trainer out of chance, to be honest. And it wasn't something I ever planned to be honest. But obviously I had trouble with my own dog, Nala, at a young age. But I was like everybody else, just didn't have a clue about dogs, dog training, dog psychology. Went to a trainer just like you think you would. In hindsight, wasn't the best in terms of knowledge and how to relate. Essentially, Nala was put on an e-collar and just sort of lit up for any time she reacted to a dog. But, it was a case of abdication. I didn't abdicate for it at a young age when dogs were rushing her, because that's how I thought dogs were meant to socialise.
I'm on your page right now. Which one's Nala?
Nala's my Staffy Cross. So in the beginning, I was also extremely careful with who I told she was an Amstaff. So she was an American Staffordshire.
Yeah, because of the shit. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the BSL over here.
Unbelievable. Fucking.
Yeah. So, so just trying to make sure that, one, she was never in a position, you see, she doesn't get like a second chance. So even if the police came to assess her for somebody just making a complaint, just due to the way she looks, she can obviously be seized, muzzled, and leaded for the rest of her life just for the way she looks.
That's insane. That's actually, that's, I've always thought that was like,
so
super unfair.
Yeah. So when I go into sort of a lot of situations where trainers were like, just let her do what she, let her tell her dog off, let her bark and stuff. And I'm like, it only takes one Karen to sort of ring the police and say that she scared them. And they're judged anyway. I'm a lad from Birkenhead, so even I'm judged just for the way I look, skinhead, tattoos, tracksuits, walking in a staffy, from an area where, trouble's known, I suppose.
So you had like a special like connection in that way as well, like.
Yeah. So what I was trying to do was obviously train, but like I say, that's a fucking long story of how I sort of went through that journey with my old trainer, and then I volunteered for a couple of years in rescues and with other trainers.
Perfect.
And then just sort of was like, you know what, I'm going to try and do this myself, because the solutions I was given weren't real. So I was told to go on 4-hour hikes every day. I finished work at 11 o'clock at night, walking around Birkenhead at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. Is not the most wisest thing to be doing anyway. So it was unfeasible. So I started training Nala, lead control, and I just used to record it and just put it on my story. And I was like, just to show people, this is what you can do, trying. And people started asking me for help. Then I did about 2 years of helping people for free after work, weekends, did it all for free. Then I charged like £15 for petrol, but carried on doing it at just £15 until eventually I thought, you know what, let's just fucking go for it. I got kicked out of my flat for my dogs. My dogs weren't allowed in my flat when they found out, and were like, literally, you have to get out or get rid of the dogs. So luckily my mum knew me, and she knew I'd just go homeless for my dogs. So I lived in a bedroom, lived in my old bedroom for a year while I was trying to get this business going with COVID as well. So a bunch of trainers just stopped training dogs through COVID and stopped working with people. And I was like, well, that's not who I am. Fuck COVID. Dogs are still going to grow. They're still going to have issues. So we need to get help. And then I thought, you know what, we'll do it. And I left another company that I was working with, but then it turned into they wanted to be my boss. And I was like, well, that's not what I signed up for. So I'm going to do it myself.
Fuck yeah.
And then really got in. And then, to be honest, I've sort of now got like a reputation of taking on, these more powerful breeds, Dobermans, Rotties, XL Bullies, German Shepherds, or dogs who have been advised to be put to sleep. I help vets in a very quiet way in terms of free training for dogs who are basically brought to the vets to be put to sleep for no real issues. So they get fostered, and then the vet rings me, and I go out and we help the dog and help the new owner to make sure that everything's safe. The problem is that as you grow, you have to I wouldn't say adapt. I suppose it's more, you have to learn how to help people better, faster, to keep up with people. I've got some people who, I know trainers like to be in demand. They like to say they've got a 6-month waiting list, but a lot of the cases that come to me, they've bitten a kid or bitten the owner, and I'm like, 6 months could be a very dangerous time if you can't help that person as fast as possible. And obviously, when I watched you a lot, I was trying to understand the whole business, you know, making sure you are paid for your valuable time. And my issue was my other half always says to me, I'm too much heart, which I was actually told by a dog trainer. I care too much about people and their dogs, which means that I would compromise my payment methods. You know, if someone was broke, I'll just do it for nothing. Don't worry about it. What I learned though quickly was people who get things for free don't value what they're getting. They just sort of cancel appointments and just like, yeah, oh, I can't make it. And then they're not putting the work in with the dog. And you're starting to be like a little frustrated with them. And you're like, I do this for free. Do you know what I mean? You know, you're saying you're broke, you're telling me this sob story. So that was a big learning curve for me. And learning to be a businessman was not anywhere near my forte. So I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, that's
a year on.
That's the biggest challenge for most people. And yeah, go ahead, keep talking, man. I just love this shit because you kind of like bringing like some of my journey to the forefront as well. So go ahead, rock and roll.
Yeah.
Keep going.
You know, I had a trainer tell me that I look too scary to do dog training. Essentially, people would think that I was trying to rob their house, so they wouldn't hire me. Been told you can't have a dog like Nala and expect people to respect what you do and what you say. And I was like, but the illusion, especially in England, the illusion of this excitement equals happiness for dogs is unreal. And the amount of dogs who are obviously having issues. I mean, in the last 6 months, you know, I've quadrupled. But if you have a look at my page and stuff, I never really post anything. A lot of it is ran on my reputation of never saying no to the worst dog possible. You know, I always go above and beyond for clients, and the services are always for everybody's financials. So we have things for free. We have things that are cheaper, you know, options if you're able to do them. And then we do have that more expensive section.
Can I stop you? Can I stop you for a sec?
One-on-one stuff.
So where are you at right now in terms of like, are you still hungry, or are you kind of like, you know, I got some, I'm comfy, I'm not panicking, I got my bills paid, like where?
Yeah, I'm at the comfy level now. Okay. So I was hungry. Recently, I think was it February, I moved into the house I'm currently in. I've got a big backyard. Never had a backyard in, you know, ever. So having my own backyard for the first time was a big deal for me.
I love that for you, Danny.
And then yeah. And it was really nice, you know. I mean, even I use sometimes yourself when I'm speaking to people, when they go, you know, oh, you've got a massive backyard here, it must be great. And I said, well, I went 5 years without a backyard. I was still able to train my dog. So when you tell me you live in a flat, I lived in a flat for 2 years.
Same.
Yeah, so when you live that sort of life, I always say to a client, I've been in your position, as in not an absolute batshit clue about dog training or anything. I was like everybody else.
Yeah, and what you've proved to yourself is that you don't, I say this all the time, maybe you've seen me, and I'm going to make a video on YouTube about this. Why people think you need a big backyard to be a sufficient dog owner blows my mind, but that's only because I know what I know. You know, I know what I know now. I didn't know then. When I was in a flat, an apartment, I was like, fuck, I can't wait to get my yard. And it is nice to have a yard, but it's not like the fucking defining thing of whether to get a dog or not. Like maybe your fucking rules at the flat and that might keep you from getting a dog, but not because I'm not a sufficient dog owner or I can't be a sufficient dog owner. Go ahead, Danny. Sorry, I'll start talking and I won't fucking shut up.
No, you're all good. You're all good, buddy, honestly. And that's when I found, you know, I tell people now, you know, obviously, when people ask me who to follow on Facebook, you know, I advise certain trainers who, and they always say to me, you know, what did you put great content? And I'm like, you get great content, but I follow people who are real and honest with their journeys and not trying to hide behind something that's not there. Because the problem I found is that when I first really, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a dog trainer now, you know, really going to give it everything I've got. I followed everybody, you know, and there was only a couple of trainers I was quite close with. I was quite close with Adam from Southend Dog Training. He's booming now, though. You know, I was quite close with him in the beginning. He was helping me with markers and obedience. But the problem I had was I began becoming corruptible, should I say, in a way where I was like, okay, I'm not doing what that trainer's doing, so I must not be a good dog trainer because they look really good. But this person's doing this and I must not be that good. So a lot of darkness came in, which turned into me basically sitting on social media like an hour that could be used somewhere else that's much more valuable. So I didn't unfollow people because I thought it's not that I don't support them and I don't like what they do. The problem is it corrupts my style. And my style is quite, to be honest, it does live heavily on my experience and instinct that in the moment with the dog.
I love that.
You know, I don't really walk in. I mean, I walk in with like a plan, sort of, this is what the dog will need. If he's obviously said the dog's got like aggression or reactivity. But when I see the dog, my whole session will change depending. And I value a lot. I work in the real world. So my group classes, you know, they go around shopping retail parks. They go into like Pets at Home. 10 people with 10 dogs there. People wouldn't expect to see in there, you know, like big German Shepherds, Rotties. But I didn't want me to be doing it. I said that's really hard. I said the problem I've got is that if everybody sees me doing it, that doesn't mean I'm a good dog trainer, because I can train a dog, but if I can't teach the person and change that person, the dog will ultimately fail, which means the client becomes dependable on the trainer. Which is the biggest problem. I think a lot of trainers are smart with that, with money. I call it models over money, or I call it I have models over money, which means I won't lie to a client for the financial gain, but I won't train in a style that won't help the clients, because the idea for me is I train them and we see each other as much as we can, and then I phase out. But I say to people, I'm like herpes. I never go away forever. I always come back when you need me.
100%. I am too. I'm there. That's the one thing I want my clients to know, is because I know it's a lot of information, man. Even I actually offer multiple, like I do board and trains predominantly, and it's magnificent for my situation. But obviously I need these owners to get it. So throughout my board and train programs, I have them come back 2 to 3 times, or however many is sufficient for until they start to get it. And the goal is to turn them into the dog trainer, like, right? So they go home and now they're the fucking dog trainers, because there's not a single dog that's going to come here and it's like, have it all, like, get the thing rolling, dude. And we've gone through the motions, and it's an absolute waste for you not to become the dog trainer. And if you don't become the dog trainer, then I'm shit, because I'm only as good as like you become, you know, I'm only as good as you are willing to become. And that's something that I'm very vocal about, because otherwise it kind of seems like I'm selling a dream. Like, you know, I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm not trying to be like, yeah, your dog's gonna be perfect. And then the dog is like still a dog. Like your dog goes home still a dog doing dog things. But if you're not the dog trainer, you're gonna be pissed so anyway, go ahead, keep going.
So obviously, like I say, like business, I mean, to be honest, nowadays especially around my area, everybody is honest, because it's just the sort of go-to thing nowadays.
What's that? It cut out. What would you say just previously?
Oh, so basically around, like, especially Birkenhead, Liverpool, or the Wirral, as we call it, there's a lot of protection trainers now and high obedience trainers. And even myself, you know, I was starting to look, it's a bit, I suppose, like the greens, like the grass is green on the other side. I was sort of looking over and I'm like, oh, you know, if I just did that, I would make absolute bank. But I think it'd be great knowledge to have.
Oh, it is. It's good to know. It's the primal side of it is magnificent.
I love that bloodline, like that research into bloodlines, into genetics, making stuff, which helped me in terms of assessing dogs faster. Do you know what I mean? I hate when people are like, you know, every dog can do this style and stuff, and you're like, but they're all breeds who are built, and dogs who are genetically built to certain dogs.
Yeah, there's a reason why they dogs
instead of selling drugs, they sell and they sell puppies now instead. So puppies is a massive business now in England. We have obviously the same thing with me. You know, people always ring me about their packs and breeding. You know, the puppies are all fighting, the mums bit the puppies, and they're still selling these dogs to clients as, you know, but by 4 months old, the breeders completely destroyed the dog. So the dog's already very reactive and already biting people or biting stuff, because it's all big money grab. So they started getting a lot of protection dogs now. So everyone's got protection dogs. So even telling someone to go on a dog walk now can be dangerous, because there's some dickhead who's walking around with a dog who's a land shark and ready to switch it on,
looking to bite everything.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's, for me, people want more control with their dogs. You know what I mean? I understand all that, but the thing is that they hit the same button all the time. It's got to be the same kind of thing, and it's also a cool lifestyle, I suppose. You know what I mean? When you're walking around high heel with the dog, everybody sort of giving you that second look. With Nala, I just walk and she's just trotting next to me. You know, obviously, I still make sure I have the control. I mean, e-collar, I had to learn that myself again because I was taught it wrong. But I didn't know no better. I put all my trust into the trainer. He just put the e-collar on, lit it up. And it's funny now because I have clients with the same person doing the same shit. I have a German Shepherd now who attacks humans because they were told to keep lifting that e-collar up. So I obviously researched a lot. I learned a lot from, obviously, yeah. I met a lot from like Larry. That's where sort of my eyes were open to it. Hold on, this e-collar can do a lot more than it's been advertised to me. Recall on point. And then now I've got it on our Bedlington Terrier, Jasper, as well. He uses it now.
Nice.
And then I've just sort of now, I was saying to the half, it's not the fact that, you know, I've started reaching out to a few trainers who I find, you know, inspire me and stuff like that. Because now what's happening is obviously the man, I've now having dogs at the house, we're doing training to support certain clients. I don't try and advertise it. And also I try to do some puppy socials because everyone expects their dog so basically in England, it's a bit different to America. So there's not really a dog park, you know, you take your dogs to and it's just fucking chaos.
Just big fields.
Here it's the same, but it's just dog walkers.
That's why I'm wondering, like, Adam gets this content because I've known Adam for a long time. This fool gets these like off-lead encounters all the time, and I'm like, that's great content. Like, how does he get that all the fucking time?
Like, honestly, mate, like literally, I could go out for a walk now, mate, and have about 10 instances with it. It's everybody goes the same places, so everybody goes like the woods, the parks, and stuff. The other problem is when this puppy goes, so what they do is they get obviously emotional, want to socialize the dogs. They hire a walker. Walker takes a bunch of dogs to a field, lets them all out, and the dogs just have at it. You know what I mean? And then you see a dog in a park, and they just run straight over. So the dogs already failed before we even begin anything. Until, again, it's the same thing with, you know, Staffies, Dobies, and any big breed I find is that, you know, these puppies are fine up until about 6 months. They're allowed to do anything they want because it's cute and they're small. And then suddenly people flinch. Oh, what's that? Oh, you know, and then the dog's attacking them because the dog's excited and jumping up. Or you get, it's okay, they're friendly.
Danny, it's crazy to me. Like, I honestly sometimes forget about how the basic fundamentals, most simplest things are just lost in translation to 90% of the people that own dogs. And for me, it's exciting because I know that this job is not going anywhere, especially in America, and from what it sounds like in England as well. Those are kind of opportunities when you run into that to be like, yo, I'm Danny Cossy. I'm a dog trainer. I think I could really fucking help you. Here's my card. Give me a call sometime. Not getting upset with the people. If it's an off-lead dog that's causing physical, like, and then yeah, fuck that. Like, fuck off. But if it's like a little fucking doodle or something, you're like, hey, you know, you could, and it's not like a dangerous situation. I take advantage of those situations because I'm not at a threat. Like, I don't have to get upset about that. I'll grab the dog and give it back and be like polite about it and be like, hey, here you go. I just prefer our space not to be, because we're working and training, and that will spark curiosity. They're like, well, what's this guy know that I don't? And so I actually went from being irritated and annoyed by all of those encounters to like, depending on the encounter, I'm going to try and get a client out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah,
anyway.
we've done a few where I've stopped a few dogs. You know what I mean? I did one in the Arno where they had to fight off 5 huskies from a reactive German Shepherd. So it was just my arms just out.
Yeah, that's a fucking
just sort of. And
chaos.
And it's harder on the owners obviously because they freak out and get angry. But I always just play it sort of. The owners didn't care; they would just keep walking. They did not give a crap what was going down. So it's like.
That's disconnected. That's a disconnect as a person. Like, how do you not have the savvy to look at that and be like, hey, maybe I should fucking like get my dogs. Like what?
Yeah. So, you know, guys, dogs are having a violent time. She's so the I mean, we've had, you know, things like that. I mean, mostly I get a lot of my clientele, to be honest, from walking around the streets. You know, people see me just literally out on the streets because we're right by a big park now. You'll see me walking dogs, working them, training with the clients, and then obviously come over usually and go, well, how did you do that? Because they're just getting dragged down the park or down to the park, so they don't know how to stop the dog.
Do you sell merch?
But to be honest, it is always difficult.
Do you sell your shirts?
Yeah. I mean, I started. Yeah, I sell. We started the merch launch last time, but I mean, what really was weird for me is a lot of trainers, they put on like other people's merch. And I'm like, I can understand supporting other people, obviously, but ultimately, if your stuff's good, you're going to wear it yourself.
Oh, for sure,
you know, aren't you?
I got my pits and ass. I got my pits and ass. Pits and ass, baby.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I had a pit bull hoodie, and then I was like, if people start thinking that no, there's a pit bull, you know, I'm fucking screwed. And also, like the amount people don't know about, like. In England, essentially, if you have a big staffy, it's got to be a pit bull, no matter what. That's just how people are.
They just associate
to be honest, any media outlet. But to be honest, I mean, in England, mate, they're too busy fighting each other to even help any dogs. Which is the biggest thing. I mean, I know positive trainers, I know working trainers, I know balanced trainers, and I can get along. And like I say, I can agree and disagree and still be totally fine with you if that's your take. For me, it's all about, are you getting results for the dog? You know, are you getting results for the owner of the dog?
100%.
Or are you somebody who's hiding something? You know, the amount of dogs I've heard about e-collars and prongs, and I've been like, okay, let me check this trainer out. Looked on their page or something, and there's not one bit of content of a prong collar or an e-collar anywhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, usually that's because they're not doing something they should.
Hey, Danny, I'm going to stop you for a second. Let me stop you just.
And they don't want to get blown out by a bunch of other trainers who spot it or see it. So I just sort of kept my head down. To be honest, over the last year, kept my head down.
Perfect. I'm just sitting here thinking like, everything I'm listening to, it sounds like if I were a client or somebody interested in dog training, this is what I would want to hear. But it's not like you're saying it in a way that comes across as like, oh, he's just telling me what I want to hear. It just sounds like you have like an ethics and a moral standard about this, and you actually want what's best for the dog, and everything that you're doing, everything that you're incorporating is with that in mind. It's not, I want to be the fucking, which I think a lot of guys come across as like I want them to know that I know it all and I fucking this. It's not, that's not the premise.
Yeah.
And I think if you continue on this path, you have literally nowhere to go but up. And that's what's been happening for me. And it comes with being very open and very like, this is what I do and this is what I believe. Pumping out the content, being honest. And I know you're in a situation with the dogs, you can't really show your pitties or your staffies and all that as much, but everything that you're saying to me right now, if you continue to vocalize that into the world, people are going to have the opportunity to choose you or to not choose you. And if you reach 500 people, there's going to be 100 people that look at you and be like, that is what the fuck I want. You know, not everybody's going to want it or whatever. And that's fine. I'm not looking for them. I'm looking for you, you know? And that's really been the premise of my success. Obviously, I've been blessed with a pretty good reach, and that's because I'm pretty obsessed with social media, and I'm just never fucking letting up. Like, I need to like force myself to take a break from it. Otherwise, I'm just like constantly looking to fucking reach and see what works and, you know, see what doesn't. And
Yeah.
one way I can't help myself is expressing feelings. Like if you watch, like no matter how I'm feeling, and it doesn't have to be even pertaining to dogs and shit, something about being open. I cry and shit. Like I'm not saying that's just my personality. Like I'm super like hard on my sleeve kind of guy. And so what I'm saying is like another part of the strategy that I feel has been successful from a social media standpoint is the honesty. Like I shave my fucking eyebrows sometimes because I got that problem, you know, and like just sharing like intimate things where it connects to somebody on a very humanitarian type, like human level, where people will see big following, super successful property, bro. This shit is just stuff and stuff like that. Like I'm still just like a dude that goes through a lot of shit and like all these things. Somebody will hire me because of that, bro. They'll be like, this fool, like you could tell he's got a heart in there. Like he's all fucking hard on the. My therapist, she's like, dude, you got this hard outer shell, bro. Like you come across as intimidating. I'm also kind of got no hair and tattoos just like you. And people will be like, damn, this fool's a little too rough for me. But when you kind of, you know, penetrate that shell a little bit, you kind of see like the massive heart that's inside. And that's such a big part of my personal success. It's not just the dog training strategies and all that shit. Like, of course, that's a big part of it. But it's like kind of like for me, it's been like the whole package that's really been super. I know you didn't ask about that, but I just kind of felt like sharing that with you.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine, buddy, honestly. For me, it was a case of I found myself in I mean, it's sort of knowing what you want, and then, I don't know, it's trying to not fall into bad methods, I suppose, in terms of, I mean, I had a puppy today. I had a Doberman puppy in for 3 hours because, you know, they got a highly disabled daughter and they're really struggling to socialize this dog and get some good foundations in. And a lot of balance trainers don't believe in board and trains. You know what I mean? They believe in the clients should do it themselves and learn the process. And I just said, some people, to be honest, are in situations where they need the foundations and you need someone to do the heavy lifting. So the dog barking, the dog, you know, trying to bust out of a crate, you need somebody to help the dog get to a stage because they have the time and the skill to change the dog. That's that a client would be able to, instead of living in with it for months and months, trying to learn what you know.
One thing additionally to that you could kind of add in your arsenal of like why board and train is because some people need a fucking break from their lunatics. They want a break, take the fucking dog. You know what I mean? Like take them 3 weeks. Yes, it's like that's a gift in itself, bro.
Which is honestly, it's what I found a big surprise for me. You know, when I began this, and I said to Anne, you know, I need to stop walking so many dogs. I need to start bringing dogs to the house and getting into more detailed work with them. A lot of people were like, yes, sign me up. You know, just, you know what I would do with 3 hours away from this dog. And I was like, oh my God. So it really sort of took off. But, you know,
what anybody says about board and trains. I don't give a fuck. They could say, I've seen other guys like try to
and like I said to Anna,
okay, guy. You know, are you there?
Yeah. And the problem we have, especially around here, is like you say, yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you see me? Yeah. A lot of the board and trains around here, that's why you see I'm very selective in terms of who I recommend in like around my area for board and trains. Because a lot of trains now work out of kennels. So they associate with like, you know, a daycare kennel, which is essentially just a kennel the dog goes to. The owner might work the dog for a few hours, and then go home at 5 o'clock, come back at 9 a.m. and carry on with the dog. Whereas I always thought the board and train should be more personal. You know, the dog in your property or with the trainer.
Do you do board and trains out of your house?
You know, especially with kennels, the kennel staff. I mean, this is one of the big reasons that I thought, you know, I'm going to go and speak to the captain because he'll know more. And I've seen him do board and trains for so long. I mean, I do a bit, I do 3 hours, but for me, it was like, I've got a Doberman puppy, obviously, who needed the time out, needed to relax after a pack walk with me. But I had him in there 45 minutes, and I said to Anna, I've never felt so guilty in my life because I charged these people £15 for an additional hour. But 15, I was sitting there with the dog while it was obviously crying and stuff in the crate, letting himself soothe. And I was like, I just, I don't know, it's like a feeling inside, like a little feeling of me, like, are you falling into ripping people off? Should I be working this dog for 3 hours? But then I was like, but the dog needed a rest. He'd been running around for an hour. He's a 6-month-old Doberman. So I was like, we've got a few boards. So a few clients of mine are really struggling with kennels because they might have a reactive dog, or they have a certain breed that the kennel won't deal with. They won't allow the dog in, essentially, because they are worried in case the breed and the dog bites the staff or something. So I was like, okay, I've got a house now. I've got my own house. I've got a nice big backyard. I have everything set up. So I said to the other half, we'll try a few boards, not training, just boards. We'll keep the dogs for a few days for the clients, charge an extra little bit amount of money, and we'll see how it goes. My worry was basically setting it up, making sure my emotions weren't getting the better of me in terms of sometimes I'll be like, okay, and I'll take the dog, whatever dog I've got for the day, and it'll be in the front room, and chilling with us, with the other dogs chilling around. And then I'm like, should I keep the dog in the office in the crate while I'm in, grabbing a cup of tea or something, or should I allow the dog to come in? Should I allow the back door to be totally open so the dog can keep coming in and out? But then I was like, that's not good for the dog, because if that dog decides to start pissing in the office and pissing all around because they haven't got the opportunity to go in and out. And the worst thing, obviously I'm very good at self-learning. You know what I mean? Obviously that's how I've got where I am. But I feel because I'm in a position now financially as well to, to go out and ask people for help. For me, I don't know about yourself, I always say I've never been given nothing for free, do you know what I mean? And I never expect nothing for free. If I've always said, even your friends and family should pay for your services if they respect what you're doing and 100%. Support you in the way that you should be supported.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation.
So that's why, obviously, like yourself, I won't be like, yeah. But for me, it was a case of when it comes, because obviously I know you've done boarding in terms of your first house, in your little garage, and I used to watch them videos. And, and I said to Anne, don't watch, when I obviously met Anne, I've been with Anne just over a year. So I was like, don't watch Chad when I'm watching him and think that he always had that big land branch. He didn't have that. He lived in a house, in a garage, and I've seen him train dogs and board them in that small space. Mm-hmm. So I said, it must be achievable. Oh, it is. A lot of trainers, when you do boarding trains, they like to show off all these massive facilities and kennels. And I'm like, you must be able to do it in a smaller level, in a safer way, but obviously take less dogs. You might take 1 or 2, maybe.
Yeah. I max out.
And then I was like, it's all about that stuff.
I only take up to, even with an employee, I only take up to 4 boarding trains, because before it was 2 to 3 for myself. And now that I got an employee, I'm like 3 to 4 at the same time, because obviously, how many repetitions they need and stuff like that. So, so you're kind of transitioning into this. Now you got the boarding trains and you're kind of getting that going in your new space over there.
Yeah. That's what I'm sort of trying to do. I'm trying not to lose my original style. I still work in the real world. I still take people into environments. I try not to train people on field and stuff. I know every trainer does that, and it is faster and it is easier to do the work with the dog. But I feel people are more disheartened. You go to a field, your dog does really well, and then you go onto the street and your dog starts pulling you down the road again because your dog's not been trained in that kind of environment. They're trained on a very quiet field with very controlled dogs with no issues.
Right.
So it's trying to make sure I don't fuck anybody's dog up while learning this new transition of a different style, or I don't know what it's not really a different style. You're still training a dog, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I started heavily in balance training. You see, I started heavily there in terms, and it's hard because balance training means so many different things now. I find, you have balance in terms of just corrections. You have balance in terms of being very natural with the dog.
That's why definitely don't categorize yourself with anybody. I have my own shit. You have your own shit. Like, call me what you want to call me. I know that there is so much that I can do for these dogs, even without tools. I just chuck those in there because I know that they can be valuable on top of all the strategies that we know. Create positive experiences for the dogs. Get them to do the shit a million times because we know that that's how dogs learn. Fucking patterns and repetitions. That's precisely all that I know. And, you know, positive experiences. And the thing about board and trains, man, on top of everything that you already know, is the dog having the opportunity to come to a new space, to adjust to the environment, to adjust to a new handler is valuable on top of them. Here, take my dog. On top of all the reps that you have the opportunity to give them that you wouldn't in that 2 hour fucking span, bro. Like there is incredible value in board and train on top of just working with the fucking owner, which you also provide throughout the board and train program. You provide both. So
yeah.
It's a no-brainer. I'm not questioning it in my mind at all. Anytime I see somebody try to swing their big dick about it, I'm like, whatever. I'm like you. I'm like, nah. Fucking, if you want to fucking travel all the fuck way around your town for all day, every day, and fucking, I don't ever leave, bro. I don't fucking leave. I don't leave my house. I make 6-figure income without leaving my house unless I'm taking a dog or a person out to work with them in the real world. You know, like. There would be no other way that I would want it because I have a family. I got a daughter. I got what, you know, I got like, I don't want to be gone all day. I know guys that do that and that's fair. Like it's to this day, that's what they prefer. But my particular situation calls for exactly what I fucking produced here. And I will market the piss out of this until I'm done in this game. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. My worry is that, I mean, when I started up, I mean, I was doing 6 days, well, 15, 16-hour days. So this year I really sort of tried to check it and be like, I'm only working 4 or 5 days. I'm not working till 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm working until about 3, 4 because everything was dogs, everything was training. I'm out all day. Never, you know, you're paying money for that house that you're never in.
Burnout.
You go to bed, you get up. Yeah. So, and a lot of people were warning me about burnout. I mean, don't get me wrong, the last 2 months it's been quite hard to try and switch off. And the last 2 weeks I've fallen sort of back in because I sit there twitching all day. I mean, I go to the gym, I do Krav Maga, I do, you know, trying to learn to play guitar and stuff like that and all these little mad things. But you still twitch, you know, sort of, if you haven't got my hands on a dog or something, I'm twitching away.
I love that.
So that's been sort of hard in terms of, because people say you've got to totally turn off, totally switch it off. And I'm like, but sometimes I'll be walking down the road and there'll be someone walking a dog, and the first thing I'll do is, you're okay? And all of a sudden now I'm working.
Well, hey, dude, you're in love with your fucking process, and that's precisely why I think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's the fucking gift. It's not the money, it's not the shit. It's like what makes you happy, what makes you feel fulfilled. Like that's the special part about it. And with listening to what you're saying right now, I have no doubt in my mind, like this is right up your alley. And the main reason is because you care. And that's the number one fucking selling factor in dog training, is that you care about what you do. You're obviously very critical of your strategies. And if you're doing it right, all that is proof to me that you're not in this initially for the money. Obviously you need to make money. Like obviously you need that because that's what we all fucking need to live. But people can see right through when you put that out there and talk about it. It gives people the opportunity to read between the lines because social media is fucking fake, right? And so the more you portray, the more you talk about it, the more opportunity for people to see if that's somebody they want to hire or not. Now, don't get me wrong, I fucking push a lot of people away with my strategy. But again, I'm not going to make everyone happy, or not everybody's going to appeal to me. I cuss, I fucking, everything else. Like, so a certain demographic is basically all I have the opportunity to grab. And it doesn't bother me that the rest of them are going to leave, because I know that already. It doesn't affect me mentally, like at all. So anyway, it kind of goes back to what I've already been talking about, but I don't know how much longer this is going to stay on. So if it cuts off, don't be, I think it goes 45 minutes on Zoom or something like that. But anyway, is there anything else, like question you have, or any curiosity that you have before we?
To be honest, it's just mostly like, in terms of obviously transitioning to a board up, sort of doing a bit more board and training stuff, to do in terms of things, but it's more like dogs who come, let's say, I'm going to have them all day. Now it's trying to create a safe place for the dog to go, I suppose, during time when you're just spending time with the family. Because like I said, so I'm, obviously the dog's staying here, you've got to be able to help the dog if it's struggling, and obviously take it out, walk it, do all the training that they may need. But in terms of creating that sort of, I suppose, that boarding space where the dog goes, because I was thinking, I mean, I've got a spare bedroom, so I was like next to mine, so I was like, maybe soundproof that a little and stick the dogs in there and take them upstairs and you can go into a crate.
Do you have a garage?
Issues, I can come out my room straight in. And then sometimes I'm thinking, should I put? So we don't really have garages in England. Okay. We have, so essentially I've got the big front room that's just there, and then here's my sort of, I suppose, a back room office that I created in here, and then 2 bedrooms upstairs, and then a big backyard. So I was going to create a space.
I know, and it's so fucking cold there, so you can't put a kennel system in the backyard. I personally would put the setup as far away from where I sleep as possible. That would be my personal, my point of view. But you already have you have your missus, right? Do you have any children?
No.
Okay, so it's you and your missus, right, dude? And you have your house situation, and you're gonna dive into this. You have, in my opinion, the more marketable setup than some fucking kennel. You know what I mean? It's more personal. It's in your home. That's what people want. You're right next to the dogs all the time. You're never not gonna be able to fucking, maybe get you a little Ring camera. I tell people that I have eyes on the dogs all the time, even if I'm not there. They're like, oh, that's cool. It's like $100, $125 for a little single Ring camera in the space, so that you can just fucking put your phone on and see if anybody's wilding out or getting crazy or whatever. Most of the time, they're just all sleeping in there if I'm not in there walking around. That's the marketable thing. People want they want that homey. That's why I'm so blessed to be. My situation in California is there's zoning things, and so I'm in a zone where I can have 25 horses on my property. So I could certainly have fucking 25 dogs. I don't, but I live in that house, and your dogs are in the garage 20 feet away from me under cameras. And I got, that is what the people that hire me love. I got my wife and my daughter, and it's a family. It's this is what I'm looking for. I feel so much better having my dog here, and fuck all the training and all that stuff. It's the feeling of safety that people want, bro. Safety, and then effective training strategy, appropriate training strategy. That's what I feel. In my mind, I've tried to produce what I would want my dog to go to if I had to send my dog somewhere. That's exactly what I've tried to formulate here is and that's most people that bring me their dogs, dude. I have to send them updates and shit. And they're not how's baby? They know they're fucking good here, man. They know they're good here. So they're not, every now and again I get a fur mom that's and I'm good, check it out, and I'll fucking send them a little video or something like that. So you already have what I would hire. You have everything there. So if that's of any consolation.
No, that's great. Because like I say, I'm more worried about where, should the dog be as close, to where to sleep? So if I hear a noise. I do have one of those cameras you're on about, but I use it for my dogs, but obviously that can just come straight into the office if I place them in here. And also what I was more worried about is doing obviously cases and sessions with people while having a board dog here, because obviously I don't want to leave the dog too long, but then I'm thinking how much work is too much work for that dog being here while it's here,
let me just tell you, my session, when I pull a dog out, we do a lot of sessions, but very short sessions. I don't want to burn a dog's drive or fucking and it also depends on the age of the animal as well. If it's a puppy, dude, I'm doing 5 to 7 minutes because the dog will check out and it's just this little fucking infant toddler that I'm not going to keep engaged. And I want to keep that dog hot. So I'm not overworking. I think a lot of people they're the longer the session, the better. I disagree. I'm more in how many reps, how many effective reps can I do? If I'm training correctly, shaping and more, I don't need to do that for fucking 30 minutes. Environmental stuff, we could go in environmental and do 30 to an hour and mix in obedience here and there. But the important part of that is just getting them getting them in the environment and having them consume things and getting their engagement back. Very simple. So yeah, so I start talking and I kind of get thrown off.
No, you're all good. And probably the biggest one was, like, let's say of a night, you know, it's that, I don't know. See, again, my problem is that sometimes I'm like, am I being emotional, or am I trying to do too much, or am I, you know, or is that actually right? And should I actually live at that standard? So, you know, for me, of a night, you know, I've put 2 crates in the living room, obviously one for Jasper, the Bellington Terrier, to go in, and then the other one was just downstairs for the Doberman today. But like of a night, you know what I mean? Like my emotional would be, which I think is emotional, would be take the dog, stick it in the crate in the front room, and let it chill with me and my dogs and my missus and stuff, and watch telly. And then after, you know, I'm ready to go to bed, I would take the dog and put it in its actual bed. But then I'm like, is it better just to leave the dog in the office while I, you know, watch a film?
Yeah. Don't be shy. Just put them dogs away. Just put them away. They're going to end up falling asleep anyway. Just put them away, and that's their time to, you know, that's their time. I only feel guilty about shit if I like haven't taken the dog out of the crate in a while, you know? So I've always been like, oh, might have to pee, like, you know, that type of thing. Yeah. What I think, if there's any advice on top of everything that we've talked about today, is don't overthink it, man. You have so much skill and so much ability, knowledge beyond all of your clients' like realm, you know, like you are a valuable tool, and you don't have to overthink your shit, because everything that you do is going to be beneficial for the dog and the owner. So just keep that in mind. Don't overthink it. Follow your gut. It sounds like you got good instinct to me, man. And I think that's a huge part of this whole thing, is your instinct. Follow your instincts. Don't overthink it. You have all the tools, you have all the knowledge, and most importantly, you have the heart for this. That's what I see personally.
Yeah, it's just like I say, it's just making sure you don't, you know, become, like you say, like a big dick prick, I suppose. You know, I don't sponsor any ads really. The reason I say that is because I always say the right people will find me. So those who actually need help in the end will find me. And I have people, you know, word of mouth is very good for my business, I suppose. It's what actually promotes a lot of my work. Isn't the videos I put up. It's usually the videos I put up, it's usually because of the breeds I'm putting up. So people are like, fucking hell, you know, there's somebody who can,
that
you
helps.
know, will help a Rottweiler or a, you know, Mali or Staffy. So I got that. So I won't like tell someone to put a dog to sleep unless it was, you know, like genetically brain, and you could scientifically prove something was, or if there's no sanctuary available, I suppose. But the idea for me is obviously to help anybody really. And sometimes, like you say, I think boarding and training for me is like that sort of next logical step, especially with my demand.
100%. And if nothing else has worked, fuck, you can't do anything unless you see about it. Like, see if 3 weeks away from the owner helps. It's not, even if you don't get anywhere with those kind of dogs, bro, you put the dog through it, and now it's not a question mark in your mind. Like, this dog is fucked. You know what I mean? Like, so it's going to cut off because I know it cuts me off at the 45-minute mark, but I have this bigger following, right? And I could honestly tell you that most of my clients that I get are from other people talking about how I gave them my fucking heart, you know, like I literally look them in the eye and I'm like, hey man, like, do you got this? Like, do you have these concepts? And I don't look for the head nod. I look in the eyes, bro, because the eyes don't lie. I could see if they're nodding their head, but they don't get it. I can honestly fucking tell every time. And so I'll be like, let's do it again real quick. And then you know what I mean? For the people that are a little tougher to coach, because we know that there's people that kind of don't really get it as quickly, or they're a little too like soft. I for lack of better words, just really not very assertive, you know. Obviously assertive personalities, strong personalities do a little bit better with dogs because we know they respond better to that. But it's like my success has really truly been, I got to do a good job because my daughter needs me to do a good job. I got to do a good job because I love these dogs. I got to do a good job because I take your money. I got to do a good job because that's just who the fuck I am. And that should take care of everything else. You know what I mean? So I hope this meeting was valuable for you.
That's the worries that.
I'm sorry.
No, it was great, mate. It's like I say, that whole, it's been great to be honest, but it's like you say, it's just trying to make sure you don't fall into that. You know what I mean? Like with this area, I don't really know. It's like making sure that you don't do a bad job by trying to do too much of a good thing in terms of working a dog too long, or getting that emotional sort of I'll just have the dog out, fuck it, sort of thing. Problems, which is what I've been finding by having dogs here for a few hours. It's like, okay, we've done a pack walk, that'll help with socialization. Help with them learn how to be respectful, because Nala is, she's amazing for puppies in terms of she will make them be respectful of her. She won't let them jump on them. She'll tell them, and then she'll go back to doing what she was doing. So really trying to tell people that, because another thing is people going, oh, my dog needs telling off. And I'm like, no, your dog's being reacted to there. You're not actually teaching the dog how to be around Daisy, who's my Chihuahua miniature pincer. So we've done a lot of that. So we usually try and do that. And then on the second hour, I bring them here, and I bring them back, and we do usually 15 to 30 minutes of engagement work. I think I've just got a few pallets, so I made a bridge and a ramp out of them things.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Just to get the dogs. Because I was like, it's like £300 odd for a freaking little plastic agility thing. And I was like, I ain't paying that. So I just went to a freaking skip and just ripped a few pallets out.
I've made most of my shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
I go to yard sales and shit, and if I see something a dog can climb on or something, I'm like, what do you want for that? I mean, most of the time it's pretty fucking cheap too, because it's like somebody doesn't want it anymore. Don't question anything, dude. You're fucking valuable. You're an asset. You're exactly what England needs, bro. 100%. And just go with what you got right now, and understand that you're just going to continue to get better. Like, you're just going to keep getting better and better and better, and you're going to fall it right into your process, just like me. Everybody's got a starting point, and just definitely stay away from just continue to believe in yourself and what you're doing, because it sounds to me like you have absolutely every reason to, bro. I gotta get out of here, because I actually have my employee coming right now, and I need to instruct him on all the shit he needs to do. But I hope it was valuable, Danny. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Thank you,
Danny. I'll talk to you on the gram, bro. Thank you, bro.
See you, mate.
Later, pal.
Bye.